Hello and welcome back to the lecture series on action prediction. So previously we have seen the predictions made for our examples where we have collected 3 strikes from the user, and we have made necessary updates to the tables that we have here, and the outcome of this is that we return random strike. And the reason is because for this case where the first and the second strike is L and H respectively, so the prediction we cannot choose any strike here for our prediction because they have the same probability. So therefore in this case we return a random strike. Now let's see what happens when we get the 4th strike. So in the 4th strike, which is punch, so again what happens is we are going to update the N total, which is now 4, and now this is obviously a case 2 because we have more than 2 strikes, and therefore we before we actually updates these 2 strikes A and B, we're gonna first update the table. So what do we update? We update not only the N total, we actually also update this table. And what really happens here is we give the fact that A is L and B is H. So when the next strike is P, that will increases the frequency for N, where A is L, B is H, and C is P. So therefore this is updated, is incremented by 1. Now what happens after that is we modify A and B to the new, to the last 2 strikes, which is H and P in this case. So and once we've done that, we actually increase the frequency for N of A equals to H and B equals to P. So we have a new frequency for these events where A is H and B is P. Now to make the prediction, so again what do we check? Well, we go to this table. We want to calculate the probability of given the fact that our previous strike is H and P, we know what should be the next strike that the player would most likely use. So in this case we notice that there is no values for any strikes. Therefore again we return random strike, and whatever strike that we return is not depending on the prediction here because we don't have values. We don't have a maximum here. Now we move on to the 5th strike. So let's say the 5th strike is L. So what does that mean is that we have a total of N 5 strikes altogether, and when we update the table, so before we update A and B, we have to change the fact that the occurrence for A equals to H and B equals to P, and for C equals to L there is a occurrence, so we need to increase this. So this is to handle this HPL. And after we have updated A and B with its new the last 2 strikes, which is P and L, then that actually increases the frequency of N given A equals to P and B equals to L. So now as we make the prediction, because the last 2 strike now is P and L, we refer to these tables, this row where A is equals to P and B is equals to L. So again, similar to the previous cases, there is no there's no prediction that we can make because none of these strike stands out among the rest. So because they are the same, so therefore we return a random strike again. Now moving on to the next one, where let's say we got the sixth strike. The sixth strike is a low kick again. So what we do is we update this table and notice that now we have a new frequency for PLL. So A equals to P, B equals to L, and for C equals to L there's occurrence. And once we update our A and B to the newest strikes, and L in this case, then we have to update this table where the frequency for A union B, when A is L and B is L, so it increases from 1 to 2. Okay, so it increases from 1 to 2. Now to make a prediction, we will look at, given the fact that the previous two strikes is 2L, what prediction can we make? Now this time, we will look at this, we have a value that is higher than the other two strikes. So what does that mean? That means that the prediction is going to return high kicks, which is H. Right, high kick, this is H. So why this will be returned? Because previously there is an occurrence where when the previous two strikes are low kicks, there was a high kick. So therefore, when the AI sees two low kicks before, he will very likely suggest that the next player's strike is going to high kick. So that is why this one there is a prediction return. Now moving on to the seventh strike. So the seventh strike, let's assume that it is L. So that means what we predicted before, H was not occurring, which is actually a common thing. Because you may not always the user may not always use the same combination of strike all the time. So when it is L, then what happens is that you notice that this combination of L, L, L occurs once. Therefore, you update the table where A equals to L, B equals to L, and C equals to L. So you update this table once, and this is a new value added. And once you have updated your A and B with the new the last two strikes, then you have to update this table A and A equals to L and B equals to L. So why this is 3? Because we have seen this 3 times. So this is the first time we see LL, this is the second time we see L, this is the third time we see LL. So therefore there's 3 here. So how do we return our predictions? So you look at this case where it is LL. So we are going to refer to this row. So notice that here we have 2 choices to choose, which is we can predict that the next strike would be low kick, or it can be a high kick as well. So both of these have the same probability. So you can choose to return either one of them as your prediction, right? As a prediction. So therefore, there's a prediction being returned. Now move on. We have a new strike. Then the new strike is H. Now what happens is that the end total will become 8. And when we update the table, we are modifying the frequency for A equals to L, B equals to L, and C equals to H. So therefore, you see a 2 here is being updated to 2. Then after that, we update our A and B so that it records the last 2 strikes, L and H. And when you update this table, you're going to record the values, the frequency for L and H occurring. So this is that value. And what is the prediction that we're going to return? Well, since the last 2 strikes L and H, so we are going to refer to this row in which A is L and B is H. Now from here we notice that there's one strike, which is the punch strike, that has the highest among all that it has. So in this case, we will return P as our prediction. Since this is the highest, so we return punch as a result. Now next one, we're gonna have the knife strike, where we assume that the strike is a punch. The player actually lands a punch. So what we do is we go to this table where we update the frequency for LHP. So LHP is here, LH and P. So this value is updated with a value 2. And obviously the end total is 9. Now once you update A and B with the latest 2 strikes H and P, then it means that we have the frequency of A equals to H and B equals to P will increase to 2. And as for the prediction, we will check the situation where A equals to H and B equals to P, and we find that again in this case we have a winner. The most possible strike is the low kick given these situations. So therefore it will return a low kick because it is a maximum. So what you notice from the previous example is that you can actually predict actions given the previous 2 actions, and the technique that we saw just now has a very has a technical name for this, actually called n-grams. So so this is a technique that we've discussed, and if you want to find more information and examples, you can refer to these 2 books under these page numbers. So so this technique is a very useful technique for action prediction, and you might want to give it a try if you're writing a fighting game. So that's all for this lecture. I hope you found this interesting and useful in your future. So that's all, and thank you very much.